right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the FPF First and Goal podcast. I'm Brent Bodkin. I'm joined once again by my co-host Quaysie Maule. A lot of things going on since we last talked to you guys. So we had 2 episodes last week. Today we're trying to bang everything out in one episode. A lot of stuff going on in every single division, from 6B to Co-Ed 1 to Women's 1 to Division 1. So let's hop into it right away. 5v5 as well. Don't worry, I haven't forgot about you guys. So a lot of stuff going on. Let's hop right away to Division 6B. Looking right now. So obviously last week we talked about a couple of teams in 6B. Looking at the schedule, pardon, not the schedule. Looking at the standings, I should say right now. So we have on top, looking at it right here. So Balls Deep still 4-0. Now the only undefeated team now remaining in Division 6B, so that's pretty impressive on their part. They're coming off of looking at it right now, yeah, so they had a victory. So actually, they didn't play this past weekend, I believe. I'm just checking it out to make sure. Yeah, the last game was not this past Monday, the Monday before, so 26-20, pardon me, over the Panthers. Their next game, so they have like almost a month off. So their next game is February 19th against over-underachievers. So, I mean, they're going to be 4-0 till the end of February, no matter what happens. Will they stay in first place? We have to find out. Looking at the standings, they're tied for first in points with 4-1. Emperor my bad. Emperor's retired. And again, a glut of teams tied, just 2 points behind. So a bunch of teams with 6 points. I'm looking at it right now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams with 6 points. So apropos, Panthers, TD Blitz, FC Bing, a bunch of other teams. So quickly, crazy about 6B. What are your thoughts?
It's moving a bit. We also have the Nard Dogs, their only team that haven't have a win yet,
Yeah.
but also they only played one game this season. So I mean they have lots of football left, but they're the only team right now without a win. And again, as we said, there's 5 teams before them that only have 1 win, so it's easier for them to catch up. Also, as you're saying, we're saying Balls Deep is the one team that's undefeated. Panthers beat Emperors this weekend. Well, during the weekend, they beat them, so they kind of made Balls Deep the only team that's undefeated. So as you said, kudos for them. It's good that they only play until February 9th. Until they only play basically until February. Their next game is February 19th, so they don't have to worry about losing their perfect season until then. So that's it's nice when you're undefeated. Something that also caught my eye, the fact that now there's only one team that's undefeated. There's only one team right now that doesn't have a win. So there's a lot of teams that got that one win during the weekend. So now we have so we only have one team right now that doesn't have a win.
That's exactly it. And so just going back to that Panthers game for a second. So I'm looking at it right now. The Emperors, they've got a touchdown for Victor LeBlanc, 3-yard touchdown with about 6 plays left in the game. They wanted to go for the 1 for the tie instead of going for the 2 in the win. They didn't get the 1-point convo. The Panthers kind of ran out the clock the rest of the game. Still getting congrats to the Panthers, a big win for them. And now the Emperors, as you said, are one of pretty much every other team except for one that has at least 1 loss on the season. Looking at the matchups quickly for 6B this coming week. So I'm just trying to load this up on my screen right now. My apologies. Are there any matchups or any showdowns that are going to catch your eye, or do you think are going to be huge this week?
Well, there's games that are happening tonight. There's still the week 5 still schedules still going on. So you have CAF 67 versus Passing TVs, and then you have the Nard Dogs versus the Minutemen. I believe the game Minutemen versus Nard Dogs should be a good game.
Yeah.
2 teams that actually need to try to get a win. And then next for week 6, there's no games only because we have a Super Bowl weekend. So there's actually just a game on week 6. We have 1 game in Chateauguay versus the Stables versus the Panthers. So that should be. I mean, Stables are 1-3, Panthers are 3-1. So I would assume that the Panthers are gonna come out with the win. So other than that, there's not really much to really look at until you get to week 7. But we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Stables right now. They scored 6 points, then 12, then 12 again, then 20. So I mean, it's kind of in an upward trajectory. So hopefully they can get some more points on the board, as you said, this Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, against the Panthers. Against the Panthers. So we'll have to wait and see for that. Yeah, so not a lot of games. Obviously, not the schedule is kind of condensed a little bit. Obviously, this Sunday again being Super Bowl Sunday, but we'll get to our picks a little later on that. So that's it for 6B. Let's hop over to 6A right now. Looking at 6A. Same thing, like a lot of parity, right? In 6A, just like we saw in 6B right now. Just taking a look at the standings here in 6A. So we have, just whatever load up on my screen. This is the beauty of technology. When you need it to work for you, sometimes it doesn't work, right? Same thing. One undefeated team, Chamonix Chotes, we talked about them last week, so they're 4-0 on the season. Every other team has at least one loss, right? You look at the bottom of the standings, there are two teams that are winless. That's the Creamsicles and Vengeance, so hopefully those guys are kind of get their act together, especially on offense. They're the two of the lowest scoring teams in Division 6A with 30 points for Vengeance and 51 for the Creamsicles. The only other team, I believe, that scored less points than Vengeance is TD Brothers with 42 points. So obviously, hopefully, again, these teams get their act together offensively. So again, Chamonix Chotes sitting at the top of the heap right now at 4-0. Looking at this team right now, looking at the schedule, what do you think, Quaysie, the chances are of continuing their undefeated streak? Because they have, the Creamsicles actually coming up at Stade de Soccer. I'm looking at it right now. That's this coming Monday.
Yeah, so they play the Creamsicles. So I mean, the only way they lose that game is if they lose it themselves. So I mean, that's pretty much. I would say I would give them a 5-0 going there. Then they play Team V in Week 7. Team V is 3-2. They got some. They just played Mean Machine. I believe Mean Machine is 0-4. I don't think they have a win. They beat them. They got a good win, 43-6. So I mean, they look like a pretty good team. They actually have what's his name? He used to play for Dylan Taylor in 2.5 Bands. Tim Horner.
Tim Horner. Yeah, he's
so
legit. He's legit.
Yeah, so I actually score kept this game when they played Mean Machines in Brossard, and he went off for I think 4 touchdowns. So to be honest with you, he's a solid receiver. The fact that he's playing, I think we talked about this last week. The fact that he's playing 6A is kind of a cheat code. But I mean,
definitely.
If you can fit the cap, whatever works. I mean, he's playing with a bunch of his buddies, so it is what it is. But he's going to be a big problem for week 7 for Chamonix Chotes. So maybe he'll be the factor of maybe he'll be the factor of taking away their undefeated season. And then if they get past Team V, then they have Scumbags, 90s Classic, Bum City, and then Mean Machines. So I mean, technically, I think the only team that has a chance to kind of take away their undefeated season, I think it would be Team V, and I would just say Team V, to be honest with you. That's what I would. Maybe 90s Classic too. 90s Classics too, because they do have some veteran talent over there. With
veteran talent. They're sitting at 3-1, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
I think those are sitting at 3-1 right now. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think those are only 2 teams I would give the chances to kind of upsetting the undefeated season.
I had a chance, so I score kept actually the Creamsicles this past Monday. Well, I didn't score keep. The field right next to where I was score keeping, it was the McGill swim team, one of my favorite teams, against the Creamsicles. That game was a little closer than what it should have been, so I got to give credit to the Creamsicles. Had a couple bad turnovers here and there. I mean, they lost 32-20. The McGill swim team, a buddy of mine, Keon Cyrus, plays on the team. He's actually going for the interception record, and he watches this podcast. So A, I want to say what's up to him, and B, he had so before the game, he told me he's going for the INT record, right? So right now, I'm looking at his stats. He told me he has 7. I want to see how accurate that is. 1 All-Star to his name. So Keon has so far this season. Okay, yeah, he's right. Coming into the game, he had 7 picks, 1 return for a TD. He got 1 INT against the Creamsicles. On the last play of the game, the quarterback for the Creamsicles chucked up the ball, and literally, Keon was playing like center field, like he was playing baseball. He was waiting for the ball to come down, and his own teammate, I believe it was Evan Shabata, ripped the ball out of his hands. Either Evan Shabata or Kyle Shabata. I'm not sure which one it was. Because again, I wasn't actually scorekeeping that game. I was just kind of watching when my game was dying down on the other field. And he ripped the interception out of his hand and tried to run it back for a touchdown. He got tackled. But I'll tell you, my man was upset. Keon was not happy about that, and he's like, "You stole the INT from me. I want to get the record." But anyways, it's all in good fun. They got the W. That's what matters the most. Anyways, McGill swim team. All that to say is a team. Also, I think they can make a run. I had a chance to see them last year and the year before. The first couple years in the league, it wasn't pretty. Their offense was horrible, to be honest. But this is a team. They've gotten experience and they've gotten better. Von Vansley, Von Vance that I'm looking at here, my bad. 5 TDs against the Creamsicles. He's improved as a quarterback. The receivers have improved. And this is a team, I think, now that they've kind of gotten their footing, they've built the foundation. They're a team I think they can make a run to here in Division 6A if everything breaks for them.
What's the record for most INTs in the season?
That's a good question. Hold on, let's.
I'm curious now because he has. I saw that maybe there was a stat correction, but I see that he has 8. So he has 8 interceptions in 4 games. So that means he's averaging 2 a game.
Right.
If he's friended in still one, he'll be averaging 2.33. But that is what it is, or 2.25 actually. Sorry.
Yes. So
he'd be average. If he could get 2 interceptions a game, I think he will finish with 20. As of right now.
Yeah, what's the math? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 2 times 10. I mean, I know for the all-time INT record is Danny Demore with 201, which is impressive in and of itself. But I don't know for the regular season record. We'll have to ask either Rob or Mo. Maybe they would know, maybe even Jeff. Someone has to know. We'll find out. That's a teaser for next episode. We will get back to you next episode and find out exactly who has the INT record during the regular season. Doesn't matter which division, male or female. We'll get back to you. So a little teaser for next week. Any final thoughts about Division 6A?
Not really. Just at the fact that there's only, as we said in Division 6B, there's only 1 team left that's undefeated, which is kind of it's interesting because last week I believe there was 3 we had. So now that we have 1, I mean, it's coming down. And you're the one that even said it. You were saying that you didn't. Every time I asked you the same question, I was like, "Oh, do you think this team's going to go undefeated, or is this going to be an undefeated team?" You said no. So I mean, it's coming down. It looks like you're going to be right, but there's still about a couple weeks left, so we'll see. But as of right now, it seems like your prediction is going to be right.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to go undefeated. I mean, obviously, there's some teams in the history of FPF that have done it, but again, you won more championships than I have. So, like, I think you could attest to that. It's not easy. You could have all the talent in the world, right? But you still got to go out onto the field and play the game. And anything could happen, right? A funny bounce here, a missed tackle, blown coverage, a drop TD or a drop INT, anything could happen, right? So I think going undefeated, again, it's a 10-game regular season. It's not like 17 games like the NFL, but it's still hard to knock everybody off and have everything go your way for 10 weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool.
All right, so let's go to 6B. Okay.
Well, 5B. 5B.
Sorry, 5B, yeah.
Yeah, so looking at it here, so speaking of undefeated, Gooners is still undefeated. They're 4-0. The Ducks are 3-0, and the Demons, again, my dark horse pick, they're 3-0. Everybody else has at least 1 loss. Some teams are 0-6. Their mama's favorite 0-6, Les Immortels. People 0-6 as well. We talked a bit about them last week. The Diddlers 0-2, Going Out of Business 0-2, Flag Dealers 0-4. So still quite a few, Hard Knocks 0-2. So still quite a few teams that are still looking for their first W of the season. There's, I believe, 6 teams in total that haven't sniffed a win yet. So hopefully they'll have better days ahead and they'll get into the win column. I want to focus though right now. So sitting at first, it's kind of a tie right now. It's like a 4-way tie for first between Cratchel Boys at 4-1, Gooners at 4-0, Pasta Arabia at 4-1, Big TDs also sitting at 4-1. So obviously there's no clear top team right now in Division 5B. What are your thoughts so far? And do you think the three teams I mentioned, Gooners, Demons, and Ducks, will be undefeated after this week.
Well, Gooners beat Crash Out Boys, so they're the ones that gave them. We kind of talked about it a bit. Gooners played Crash Out Boys and they beat them 25-13. So not a lot of points game, not a lot of points scored, not a lot of points scored against. So 25-13. So it kind of shows that Gooners is a threat to kind of look at. The fact that Crash Out Boys only scored 13 points on them is pretty damn impressive to me, and the fact that there are the three teams left being being an undefeated season, having an undefeated record right now. So that's pretty impressive for me. Also, Crash Out Boys, big shout out to you guys too. You know, being 4-1. It's still pretty good, and they've only allowed 50 points again. So their defense is a real thing.
Yeah.
Allowing 25 points is still pretty good. Technically, it's 3 touchdowns and 3 converts. If they go for 2 around those lines, or it's like 4 touchdowns. So it's pretty good. It's not bad. You know, it's you're gonna have to kind of tighten up a bit and try to score more points if you guys want to end up winning a championship. But other than that, it's still pretty impressive. I just think right now Gooners looks like they're on a flow, 4-0. They just had an impressive win to them as right now the number 1 seed. That's even though they beat them, they just have 1 game higher than them. So that's the reason why they're below them. But a very impressive win for them, and it kind of goes to show that they don't really have much. As it seems, they don't really have much competition left. How the rankings are. I think the biggest team that they're going to play against, I believe it's the Demons in week 13, and that's back in March.
Yeah.
In March. So, they have and then also you have Dragon too. They play Dragon Magic.
Yeah, Dragon Magic. That's coming up soon, actually.
Yeah, that's going to be the next game.
This coming Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they also have that game. Yeah, they're 3-1-1, so that's going to be a test for them. So I mean, there's that too. Yeah, but it's a long season.
So,
don't get me wrong, it's a long season.
Well, that's it. So one of the things I mentioned still undefeated is the Ducks. So they have we talked about Crash Out Boys, right? It's going to be Ducks against Crash Out Boys, not this coming Monday, but the Monday after. So the Sunday after, February 16th. So next Sunday, basically. That's going to be a good game between the Ducks and Crash Out Boys. Definitely it's going to be huge in terms of the standings. And then, so right after that, the Ducks, so it's 2 games and 2 nights for the Ducks, right? So Crash Out Boys, like I said, on Sunday, February 16th. And then the next night, February 17th, they play Chicken Little at Stade de Soccer. So, again, 2 games and 2 nights. I mean, hopefully this team is a lot of young guys and the Ducks, because I can tell you as an older guy playing 2 games and 2 nights is not always the greatest. Chicken Littles right now with the 1-1 record. I've seen some of the guys play. They're deep. This team is deep. They got some speed, so we're going to have to see what happens. So 2 big matchups again for the Ducks, like I said, Crash Out Boys and Chicken Littles. So the Ducks might not be undefeated after it's all said and done after next weekend, but we'll have to wait and see. The Demons, like we talked about, their next game is all the way on February 23rd. They're playing Sleep Nobodies. For the Demons to see if they're going to suffer their first loss of the season. That's going to be Sunday, February 23rd at the Indomitable as well. So we'll have to see what happens with that one. Looking at the schedule as a whole right now for this division. So we have this Monday night, Mighty Ducks, Chicken Littles in Chateauguay. Also in Chateauguay, no punt intended against Going Out of Business. We talked about Gooners and Dragon Magic going to be in Saint Laurent. And at Stade Bear, kicking assets against Les Super Turbo Navettes. Les Super Turbo Navettes, they're a veteran team. They have a couple of decent players on the squad, a lot of speed in that, so I think it'll be an interesting matchup between Kicking Assets and the Super Turbo Navettes. So all these teams in this division are lucky. They're off for the whole weekend. Again, with the exception of the 1 game going on tonight, Diddlers against Bullseye at Stade Bear. 11 o'clock game tonight. So guys have to work tomorrow morning. You got to tough it out. Sucks, but I mean, it is what it is, right? We have a lot of teams. You got to play when you got to play. So that should be a decent matchup tonight again at Stade Bear between the Diddlers and Bullseye.
Yeah, they're gonna need the Diddlers. They're gonna need a win, right? They're 0-2 right now.
Yeah, well, so that's it. Exactly.
And Bullseye Bullseye is 1-3, so it should be a winnable game. It'll be nice for them to kind of get their first win of the season, to kind of just to get that and kind of get things rolling. Quick question for you.
Two teams hungry. Yep.
Quick question for you. Do you sucks to say it, but do you think Immortals and Mama's favorite season's pretty much done? They're both 0-6. They've allowed 206 points, 221 points. The Immortals only scored 30 points in the last 6 games, averaging. We talked about it a bit, but like to that point, they've scored 5 points pretty much on average a game.
5 points a game.
Do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think their season's over, or do you think they're able to have a turnaround with a spark of magic, some fairy dust, something to kind of to turn it around? Or do you think it's over?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think it's over. I mean, if I have to pick the better of those two teams, I'm going to pick Mama's favorite. They've scored at least 85 points this season. Pardon me, 84 points. My apologies. This season, looking at their schedule, I mean, they have Sleeping Nobodies, Les Mange de Bange. They take on Les Immortals, right? So week 11, it's Mama's favorite against Les Immortals. Someone doesn't have to win. We can get a tie. Hopefully that's not the case. And then they finish off with going out of business. I'm gonna say Mama's favorite is gonna get a W, and it's gonna be against Les Immortals. And Les Immortals, unfortunately, I think is gonna end up winless this season. I could be wrong though, and feel free to prove me wrong. Les Immortals, feel free to prove me wrong. I'm just saying, based off of the offense so far, the lack thereof for Les Immortals, it's not looking promising to get a W. They've scored 12 points over the last 3 games, Les Immortals. So yeah, that's not a recipe for success.
No, it's not.
They also have the schedule too.
Let's go visit 5.
Let's hop over to yeah.
5A, yeah.
So looking at it right now. Yep. So in 5A, so let's take a look at the standings right here. Just a little bit past top of the hour. So we see right here. Yeah, the Phoenix Devils, we talked about them last week. They're still undefeated. They're 4-0. Pump and Dump 3-0-1. So again, no tick in the loss column. Thunder Buddies, Terry Ballas' team 2-0-1. Again, they have a 0 in the win in the loss column. Pardon me. So those are the only teams that haven't suffered a loss so far. Only 4 teams. So there's 24 teams in this division, right? Like we talked about last week. Only 4 don't have a win. LS Tigers 0-2, Brewers 0-3, Vice City 0-4, and Texas Whales also sitting at 0-4. So the teams are stepping up in this division, right? I mean, everybody. So I'll put it in this perspective. 24 teams, 16 out of the 24 have at least 2 wins. That's pretty impressive. Yeah. And there's 4 other teams that have 1 win. Super Troopers, Underdogs, Miss Mambas, One Orange Crush. So again, this is pretty impressive. This division is definitely coming into play.
Yeah, so I would say this sometimes this like a division like this kind of sucks for the teams that are at the bottom, because it's not like you need 1 win to kind of have a boost in your season. You need 2, and then sometimes you need 3 because of the tie break, you know. So Texan Whales, Vice City, Brewers, LS Tigers. Like, even if you guys get a win, you're still behind. So you're gonna have to try to push a bit harder and try to get 2 wins, 3 wins, because I feel like in a situation like this, to make playoffs, which does suck, because sometimes in some divisions you could get away with being 2-8, and you could somehow squeeze inside there because you have 3 or 4 teams that don't have a winning record. You know, it happens. I've seen it. I witnessed it. Sometimes I was in it once, where I think my team back in the day, I think my team had 2 wins, and we ended up being the last seed, kind of squeezed in. But it just goes to show right now, you have Ambush, you have Toon Squad, you have Freshmen, you have Reborn Prospects, you have Ball So Hard, you have Deep Shots, you have Baby Sharks, you have Thunder Buddies, that also has a tie. They all have 2 wins. So as soon as if they all get an extra win, it basically means the bottom bunch needs to get, instead of having 3 wins, you need 4 wins. So that's something.
Exactly.
Something to look at, because sometimes you don't see it. Sometimes you see a lot of teams with 1-1-1-1-1-1-1, and then you see teams that have 1 win and they're inside. They're in looking playoff. They're in the green to get into playoffs. But now you have you have 4 teams that have 1 win and they're in the red. You know, so it's different. It's different. If you had to choose, I think we kind of talked about this before. Do you see any of the teams in the green dropping down?
Oh, that's a good question.
So let's just say let's just go. If you take the first 5 teams, the teams that are 2-2. You see any of those teams that are because they have all played 4 or 5 games. Do you see any of these teams? Actually, sorry. Instead of saying they're dropping down, not making the playoffs.
I would say maybe Ambush, and if going into the season, like I'd be shocked to see that. Again, we talked last week, right? They have some talent on their team, right? A lot of veteran guys. They banned Phil Roberts, Kevin Dunnett. Again, just their defense is like they're leaking oil right now. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about with that, obviously they're giving up a lot of points, right? So far, they've given up 127 points. I'm doing the quick math here. 127 points divided by 4, they're giving up 32 points a game. That's a lot, right? I mean, they lost a heartbreaker. They knocked off. They got a W, so they're 2-2, right? They knocked off Toon Squad 37-34. But again, giving up that many points on defense, 32 points a game, I don't think that's going to be enough to get you in the playoffs. Because you look at some of these other teams in the standings, right? That are right on their trail, and you have Orange Crush. You have Mixed Mamas. Mixed Mamas have scored in 3 games. They put up 88 points. So almost 30 points a game, right? They're doing something right. Even the underdogs, they've scored 73 points. Super Troopers 75, right? So the teams that could score, just their defense as well, is struggling. Yeah. So we'll have to see. I think Ambush might drop out of the playoffs. And quickly, actually, to your last point, Quaysie, we talked about 2 teams looking for a W. Texas Whales are playing LS Tigers tonight at Sadie Bear.
Okay, so someone's going to have W. Yeah, that's very true. That's going to be
get off the slide. There's also Orange Crush against the Old Pats. Old Pats right now, they got a 3-1 record. Orange Crush at 1-3. Orange Crush is a team, obviously, they're hungry for wins. They got to start piling up some wins. Again, right now, I believe they're on the outside looking in for the playoffs. Yeah, exactly. They're in the 17th spot. 16 make the dance. So, obviously, Orange Crush is going to need to start piling together some wins to maybe catch Ambush.
Yeah, they also have if you see, they actually have a very good defense that it seems. I haven't seen them play this year. But they have allowed 76 points on defense. So in 4 games, so they're allowing 18 points a game. So that's 3 touchdowns a game. Compared to Ambush, which is allowing they're allowing basically 5 touchdowns a game. So and their record, they've played 4 games each, whatever. I'm sure Orange Crush have lost some heartbreak games. I'm just gonna go by and click on it.
They have. Look, I'm looking at it right now. All their games are within a touchdown. They've lost all their games by less than a touchdown, except for 1. Freshman XL beat them 12-6, so that's a touchdown. Yeah, their defense is showing up. Their offense needs to do the same.
Yeah, their offense is first point. So that shows something like, okay, these guys could be a real deal when it comes down to the season. They just have to start getting those wins because their defense is doing their job. The offense are just going to have to start scoring some points, and they're a team that all of a sudden you see them on number 17 now, and when it comes to week 6, 7, 8, they're like in the middle of the pack, and they're going to be, let's just say they'll be 3-3, something like that, and then they're going to be like number 10. And then it's also something to look for Ambush, because if they don't, before they know it, they could just drop, how we were saying, because they do a lot. They do allow pretty much right now. They allow the second most points scored in their conference at 127. So
which is a surprise again, considering they have a lot of veterans on their team. So I got Ambush. Who do you think could probably fall out of the playoff spot right now?
I would go with Freshmen, and the only reason why I'm saying Freshmen, because right now Freshmen, they're 2-3, they're 112 points for, 112 points again, so they're in between. So their offense basically scores as much as their defense. Like their offense scores as much as their defense allows now, as the 5 games has went through, and they don't really have. Well, they beat. Oh wait, actually, they're 3-2. So they beat Orange Crush by 6, which was a close game. So right there, that could have probably went either way. So they, instead of being 2-3, they could have been 1-4. And then they got a pretty impressive win versus Reborn Prospects. They got a good win there. So I mean, other than those 2 games, like it kind of will. Newborn prospects are 2-2. So I would have to say that's a team that I would feel like if they kind of don't start scoring more points, because you want to have more points scored on offense than on defense. So I feel like if they don't turn it up a bit, they're one team. They could start dropping some games, and before you know it, 2-3 becomes 2-6, and you're at the bottom of the bunch.
Exactly. Okay. So I guess that does it for 5A. Let's hop over to 4B right now. Just like last week, Win Diesel still top of the mountain right now. They're sitting at 4-0. So looking at Win Diesel, they're actually playing tonight. Looking at it right here, their game is against Team Sexy tonight.
Yeah, that's gonna be a very good game. It's two teams that are right now.
Yeah. Exactly. And a short turnaround for Win Diesel because again they have Team Sexy tonight, and then I believe they're playing Saturday as well. Yeah, they're playing Saturday in Bristol against Game of Thrones. Solid name, by the way. I like that. Are you a Game of Thrones House of Dragon fan?
Yes, I am. I watched watched all the episodes. I didn't like the ending of the last one. I felt like it built up so much, and then that's like the last episode. So that's the worst thing about it.
I feel you. I was talking to a buddy of mine last night about that. I have a friend who's like always behind on shows. He's like a year behind on every show, and he's like, yeah, what should I be watching? And he's like, oh, my girlfriend was getting into House of Dragon, and then he's like, she didn't like it, but I did. So I'm like, well, finish watching it, dude. I'm like, just be disappointed. Be prepared to be disappointed for that final episode. It's like to build up, and then spoiler alert, there's no fight. They're just on the way to fight. I'm like, that's what we're waiting for, really? Like.
Yeah, exactly. All that hype up. I'm also like kind of like your friend too. Sometimes I like being behind because I kind of want to binge watch everything one shot.
Yeah, 100%, 100%,
like 100%. Episodes. I don't like to wait. Like when we were when I was watching TV shows back when everyone used to watch TV shows like on TV. Well, some people still do it, but a lot of people watch like live streams and stuff like that now. You're like, let's say watching Dragon Ball Z. And you're watching Dragon Ball Z, and all of a sudden, like something crazy happens, like, and then it goes next time on Dragon Ball Z, and you have to wait a whole week for the next episode. Like, I didn't like that. So now, like, we have Netflix and all these streaming things where you can just kind of just run through all the episodes one after the other.
I hear you, 100%, 100%.
So back to Division 4B. So we have Win Diesel versus Team Sexy. Two teams that are undefeated, and then you have Slippery Slopes. So there's 3 teams left that are undefeated. One team, unless they tie, which percentages of that is not that high, but you never know. Exactly. Who are you going to give the win to tonight? Out of the 2 teams.
I know if I say Team Sexy, we'll see back in his brothers and that. Be like, oh, thanks for the motivation. I'm going to do it anyways. Team Sexy is going to get the W. Okay. I'm going to give Team Sexy the W. You know what? So there's one more undefeated team, Slippery Slopes. They're taking on Raw Sauce 2.0. Raw Sauce 2.0 is 3-1. So Team Sexy against Win Diesel is going to be a great game, but I think Slippery Slopes against Raw Sauce 2.0 is going to be just as good. So really 2 headlining games over the next couple of days here, obviously starting tonight in Division 4B.
Yeah, we could have one team undefeated by next week. From I think last week there was 4. So I mean, it's coming. Teams are losing.
It's coming together. I mean,
teams are losing. We also have teams that are winning as well, right? So if we go at the bottom of the pack, there's only 2 teams undefeated. So 2 teams that don't have a winning record. You have Mofos and you have Shadigi Community College. Shout out to Shadigi Community College. We are curious to see if you guys are from Shadigi. If you ever see me or Brent on the field, if you could let us know, that would be appreciated.
And again, I looked last week. There is no Shadigi Community College. Like I mean, I could be wrong, but I checked and I was like, yeah.
I don't think there's any either.
It's a good name,
but
solid name.
Yeah, it is. I hope they are from Shadigi, though. To be honest, I really hope they are.
I mean, I think you have to be, right? Yeah, I mean, you have to be. You can't say you're Shadigi Community College and I don't know, you're from like Rapani or something, or like DDO. It doesn't make any sense to me, but all right.
So do you think any of these teams are going to get a win this season from Mofo's or
Mm, I mean, looking at it, I think we talked about it last week, man. Like so the Mofos lost a heartbreaker, right? They lost Monday night 30 to 29. Sorry, the case of 12 or cast the dues, if you will. So that's really it's a crappy way. Like I'd rather get blown out than lose by like 1 point or lose on the last play of the game. But that's just me. Yeah. So they Mofo. So we talked about their offense last week. They had scored 12 points week one, 0 points week two, and then they've gotten better and better. They lost 33-26 to the Black Vipers last Monday, not the Monday past, sorry, the Monday before. And again, as I said, they lost by 1 point this past Monday to cast the dues. So I mean, they have the chosen ones coming up next, and they have les Tendus. So I mean, there's a chance to get some W's there for the Mofos. Looking at the Chattagee Community College, again, these are the two teams, Mofos and Chattagee Community College, that have two of the worst defenses in the division. Coconuts actually right now for 161 points given up have the second worst. Chattagee Community College is the worst with 164. So I mean, you're off by a couple of points here, a couple of points there. Chattagee Community College just got smoked 53-22 last week by Raw Sauce 2.0, so a team we talked about. But then after that, like, you look at the schedule. They have Team Sexy coming up next Sunday, the Sunday after the Hooligans. They have Coconuts, so there's a chance for them to get a W. Then they have the Slippery Slopes, the Tua Army, and then Notorious Whales. So Chattagee Community College actually has a more favorable schedule. It's just that defense that really gives me a little bit of pause. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna say Chattagee Community College because they've scored 104 points, whereas Mofos have only scored 67. The majority have come in the last 2 weeks. I want to give the edge to Chattagee Community College. I think Chattagee Community College has a better remaining schedule. I think they get a W, or at least they get a W before Mofos do.
Okay, that's exactly what I was going to ask you. I was going to set it. I was going to be like, oh, make it a bit easier. Who do you think is going to get the first win out of their season? But
Yeah,
you pretty much answered
that's
that.
cool. All right. So let's hop over to 4A here. Looking at 4A. Uh, so yeah, we talked last week. I mean, there's definitely amount of parity in this division. Yeah, the Penetrators 4-0, Sleeping All Stars 4-1. There's a couple of teams, another undefeated team, Speed Academy. So there's two teams that are undefeated. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 8 teams with only one loss. So that's pretty solid. And there's 4 teams who haven't got a W. So that's the Nighthawks, Voodoo, Ball Don't Lie, and Blue Balls. I'm a little surprised with Nighthawks. They're a veteran squad. They've been together for a number of seasons. They're deep as well. A little surprised they don't have a win yet. Voodoo, yeah, they're struggling right now. I think Blue Balls, yeah, they've let in 146 points. That's the second worst in the division. So that's the hill for them to get out of that last spot. Number 19 in Division 4A is getting taller and taller, or harder and harder, if you will, by the
Yeah.
week. Yeah, but looking at
The
the top of
the
the
one.
standings again, a lot of teams. Sure.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish.
No, I was gonna say the top of the standings. There's a lot of teams. I mean, again, Penetrators 8 points, Sleeping All Stars 8 points. A lot of teams in there with 4 and 6 points. So definitely no runaway leader right now in the division.
No, it looks like everything's very tight, especially on the top. It
Yeah,
takes one team to lose, one team to win, and then all of a sudden we have a four-way tie for first place, or a four-way
exactly,
tie for the top
exactly.
4 or 5. Also, same thing going from the bottom to the top. So if you're taking the top, the bottom 13 teams that are missing playoffs right now, any of these teams get any sort of win, and then all of a sudden they go from being 15th all the way down to 9 or 8, right? Because they get 2 wins. So it takes one
Yeah,
one more win, and then all of a sudden the turns have tied for a lot of teams. Also for teams like that are 0-4, 0-3, 0-3, 0-3, as you were saying, the bottom 4 teams, they get anyhow
yeah,
they could get a little spark, get a one win here or there. They
yeah.
can make a chance to make a playoff push. So as we were saying before,
Definitely,
I think with
definitely.
division, I think it was Division 5B, where we're kind of saying a lot of these teams are 2-2, and it's like 2 games don't give you that playoff opportunity yet. You need to have 3 games, right? here is a bit different. You still have the Goods and you have the Bandits at 1-1, 1-2. So you have chances to get that extra 2 wins. Some teams get played back to back. Some teams play Sunday, Monday. So you play on Saturday. You play on Sunday, and then you play on Monday. You get those 2 wins, and all of a sudden you are in number 16, and then you're in your number 10. So that's one thing I have to say.
Exactly.
In this division, it's open. A lot of things are still easy to come. So it's no reason to give up on your season now, being 0-3 or 0-4. There's a lot of opportunities left to make a push to get into playoffs.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the schedule, there's one game going on tonight at Stady Bear at 9 o'clock, so about in an hour and a half from now. It's Sun and Guns against Balls Deep. There's a couple games this weekend as well. Penetrators, Rico Riders, so 2 veteran teams. That should be a good one. Rico Riders actually coming off of a shocking loss to the CRA Bombers this past Monday night at Stady Bear. So congrats to the Bombers. Actually, I believe that's the Bombers' first W of the season. So again, yeah, it is their first W. So an upset victory. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so an upset victory over the Rico Riders. A bit of an upset, not a huge one. Bandits and Killer Rays this Saturday at Brassard, and then Speed Academy and CRA Bombers now looking to make it 2 wins in a row. Coming up this Saturday, a couple games on Monday: Blue Balls, Nighthawks, and Kung Pao against Voodoo. So a lot of teams, a lot of jockeying in the standings. We're gonna have to see how it all shakes out when we meet up next week. So we have a couple big games coming up here.
We're going to see, as you said, Blue Balls versus Nighthawks. So that means one team has to win, one team has to lose. So that's going to be one extra team that's going to not have a win, and one team that's going to have a win. So the ratings are going to change. You're not going to have 4 teams that are going to be win this win. It's going to be maybe 3 teams starting next week that's going to have a win, which we want to see, right? We want to see teams get wins. You don't want to be that team that has a 0-10 season. No one likes it. It's not as fun. So you want to always try to get, even if it's one win, you get it early in the season. It's good to have.
Exactly. All right, let's hop over to Div 3 here. Udaho, Ida Pimps, 5-0. Beer Belly Brigade, 3-0. Sorry. Levers Full, 3-0. And then there's like a glut of teams. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with only 1 loss. A bunch of teams with 2. So Le Penguin actually with 2-4 record. Those 2 wins actually really bailing them up because they're sitting right now in 15th. A lot of teams with 1 win. There's only 3, bit of a surprise, only 3 teams that are winless right now. Big Fat Bats, we talked about them last week. Prodigy and AF1, which is Air Force One, they're at 0-4. Southsiders sitting at 1. I'm not sure how this is possible, but the Southsiders sit with a 1-4 record after 5 games. They've allowed, get this, 200 points so far this season over 5 games. Listen, I mean, it's easier to stop people. It's easy to say stopping people, when we're sitting, in front of a computer screen, but that's still a lot of points, man. You guys gotta get some stops here.
Yeah, just looking at this roster, though. Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, looking at the Southside roster, I think they probably could have gotten like a Division 4A or Division 4B, because they just have one guy.
100%.
Maybe it's one of those teams where maybe they registered a bit too late, or maybe they felt like they could have played in Division 3B. Division 3. But I believe this is a roster.
Yeah. Division 3, it's one or the other.
I feel like they could have been in 4A, 4B, or maybe even 5. I'm not exactly sure what the roster, the rotation was. But just looking at the roster, they have a lot of guys at 55, a lot of guys that are base 70. I mean, they're new guys coming into the league. So they I'm pretty sure, they have one. They have a guy at 50-50, another guy at 70-70, another guy at 70-70, another guy at 70-70, 55. Yep. So they're a team that I believe they're probably, a lot of them look like they're new to the league. So they probably could have made the jump down or jump up, depends on the way you look at it. But they could have probably been in a whole different division. So maybe that's something for them to look at for next season, for like that adjustment.
Definitely.
It looks like they're allowing 40 points per game. So I mean, they had a good chance to beat like Penguin, but other than that. Again, they have 1 win, right? So that means they beat. Who did they beat?
They knocked off.
They lost.
Les Penguins.
Oh, they
They
beat the
knocked off Les
Penguins.
Penguins.
That's the only team they won off. And other than that, the rest of the games have been
Yeah.
blowouts by more than 20 points.
And that's
So
I was going to say that. Look at their offense, right? They have out of their 5 games so far, there's 3 games where they only scored 2 touchdowns. There's another game where they scored 3 touchdowns, and again, their win over the Penguins, 31-26, was the only time they scored more than not even 20. It's more to score. It's the only time they score more than 19 points, right? It's only one, so that's not a recipe for success, like you said. Looking at the roster, so guys that have played games, I believe it's 11, and out of that 11, I believe it's 5 or maybe 6 that are rookies. So yeah, this is like you said, Quaysie. This is a team that either registered late or they just got really confident, like, yeah, we could play Division Three, and it's happened before, right? It happens in every single division, every single year. I find Division Three, especially, that happens a lot because I think a lot of teams like, well, maybe we're definitely not good enough for one. Maybe we're not good enough for two. Oh, but for sure we're better than 4A and 4B. So let's try three.
yeah,
And yeah, that's not working out so well for the Southsiders.
yeah.
Again, they have the whole
Especially
literally second half of the season, but I don't know.
especially for winter. Winter three is very competitive. There's a lot of teams.
Yeah.
I said that last week. It's I find if you win a championship in Division Three winter, it's a pretty solid thing to put on your resume. I find it's a
100%.
very
A
impressive to
hundred
win
percent.
anything, pretty much anything in the winter, but especially Division Three winter because there's just so much
Yeah.
talent
Yeah.
that's going on.
Yeah.
We see Idaho. They beat Barbecue Chicken, so they gave them their first loss of the season. Do
Yeah.
you do you? They won 30-25. Idaho. Um, would you say
Yeah.
they're the real deal? They're 5-0. They've scored 200 points for points against only 113. So they're allowing about 22 points per game, 23 points per game. So about 3 touchdowns if you also
Right.
count converts.
Right.
Do you think they're the real deal?
Oh, 100%. So I'm gonna correct you on this one. So usually, so I know in Div 2 is Idaho Utah Pimps. Now for Div 3, they're Idaho Ida
Or
Pimps,
beautiful?
which I remember writing last year. Yeah, it's different this time. I remember writing last year, last summer, that should be their name. Why would you say Idaho Utah Pimps? Why not be Idaho Ida? Anyways, whatever. Idaho Ida Pimps is a team in Div 3. No, they're real for sure. I mean, listen, they have Brady at quarterback, right? I don't want to butcher his last name. I'm gonna see if I can get this right. So with Brady Ohanassian. When I see him, feel free to correct me. 25 TDs and 1 INT. Let's call a spade here. There's no reason this guy should be throwing in Division 3. Like, let's be real. I played against him
Well,
last summer, spring season. He's not a Div 3 quarterback anymore. He's Div 2 and up.
yeah, but I feel like for Winter Division Three, he could have snuck in. I believe he is also
Yeah.
throwing for Division Two, right? I would assume that
Yeah,
he's
he
also
is.
throwing.
I saw him on Saturday. I'll get to that after in Division 2. He threw Saturday. That's what I'm saying. He's a legit Division 2 quarterback. I can understand, if you can slide in, right? I mean, if you can sneak in,
I,
that's
I
fine.
think
He's
it's.
at an 82 rating.
I think this is his last Division
So I
Three.
mean, oh,
Division Three.
this is the last dance for him in Division 3,
Yeah,
100 as a quarterback, 100%. And he's a good player. Like he's a great defensive back too. So I mean, just he'll slide down and play something else. You look at this roster, right? I mean, Marvin Steinberg, Derek Colomb, high division guy. Jonathan Lazistris, a veteran. James Nguyen, big fan of this guy. Solid player. We talked about last week. Simon Deschênes is playing as well, right? And Sam, I hope I don't get this wrong. Anastasopoulos. Sam Anastasopoulos. Sorry, there you go. I think I got it.
solid player.
Yeah, solid player, 100%. I remember seeing him in the lower divisions last year. And like, this guy is really good. He shouldn't be playing here. And smartly, he got scooped up last year and is playing in the higher divisions. But yeah, sorry, to answer your question, this is definitely a legit team. I'd be shocked if they don't win it all here in Div 3.
It would be a shame for them because I remember they kind of had around the same roster for Tier Two, and I think they
Yeah,
finished eight and
exactly. Yeah,
two, or
exactly.
they end up losing. So I think this is kind of redemption for especially Division Three, and then whenever we'll talk about Division Two when we get to that. But I think it's also a redemption for them to try to end up winning
Oh,
a.
definitely.
From
Yeah, I think it's this jerk named Quaysie that kind of got in their way in Tier 2 last summer. This guy Quaysie is a real jerk, I heard, and he stopped him from winning a championship. Okay, so besides you, the whole Ida Pimps, who do you think would be the one team that could stand in the way from going all the way and winning it all?
I like the Stodics with Chris.
Stoics, yeah.
Yeah,
Chris
they
Rivet.
have a
Yeah.
very young team, which is I believe it was the not the game of the week, but it was like a highlight video
Mm-hmm.
that I saw, and they just have a lot of
Right.
young guys that they're athletic and they're good. They
Yep.
have a
It's
very
true.
well defense from Alexis Dubois.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he calls it defense. As again, veteran guy, he knows what he's doing. Not the most athletic guy, but he understands how to run a defense. I'm pretty sure he
Yeah.
calls it. He has a lot of athletes, so everyone follows the system and does what he kind of says.
Mm-hmm.
Follows even they're gonna get wins.
Yeah.
They destroyed fourth and Schlong, 43-12. I think that's the video that was posted on the FPF Instagram page. But they look
Right.
good.
Right.
They look good, especially if James Drysdale actually plays. He has 2 games played now. They played 4, so he needs 4 more games to be play. I think it's 5. He needs 5 to be playoff eligible, so he needs 3 more to be playoff
Yeah.
eligible. They can add him also to be a full time guy on the roster. They're going to be a team that you're not going to want to play them. To be honest with you, they're going to be a very scary team to play against, especially with Chris. Chris is a veteran quarterback, and he's the type of quarterback that he's gonna dig, and just try to get the first down, and do what he has to do. If he has to use his legs, he's gonna use his legs. If he has to make a throw on the dime, he's gonna make a throw on the dime. So I feel like that's a team to look out for, and that's a team that definitely can win a championship.
Yeah, Chris Rivet. Will Levis is number one fan, Tennessee Titans fan there, Chris. Love giving him the business on that one. We'll see who they take in the draft. But no, I agree. They're definitely a team that could definitely make a run for the championship. Let me ask you, though, another team that's undefeated right now, the Verge Foe. We talked about them briefly last week. Former McGill defensive back, and obviously member of the Braves, Guillaume Ballin, definitely the top player on the team. There's no question about it. But looking at the rest of the roster, I mean, is Carl Bonola 78 rating on offense? Everyone else is like in like the mid 60s, and a
So
couple guys in like the low 70s. So there's besides Ballin, there's no like studs on his team. At least that's what it appears on paper. But the 3-0.
No, so to answer this, which is kind of funny, I was at the Stinger Dome at a Division One game. I think around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and then I was kind of just hanging around. And then my teammate Sanders plays on Blue Chips. I believe he's playing quarterback right
Yep.
now.
Yep.
And yeah, I was just kind of hanging around. I was kind of just
Yeah.
looking at games, trying to see what we could talk about the podcast, see if there's any upset. There was a couple good games going on, and he asked me to play. So I ended up playing against these guys, and
Oh,
their quarterback
okay.
is good. I think it was. I just want to make sure it
Yeah,
was Zach.
Zachary Quivige.
Yeah, he's no, he's a solid guy. He made very key throws, especially for me.
Okay.
I was a defender. I was playing the right half, and there's so many times where I
Right.
sneak
Right.
outside, act like I'm covering the wideout, and I come inside taking the slot. And a lot of teams, that's how I usually get a lot of my picks, right? And he kind of held the ball. He made sure he held it. He took the sack when he had to take the sack, and they got the W against
Mm-hmm.
us. It was 32-32 at the end of the game. We ended up scoring, and then we went for two to win the game, but they got the stop and they got the W. But a very
Uh-huh.
solid, a very solid. I was surprised, to be honest with you. I thought we were going to get an easy win, but a very solid team, and they got the win. I also believe they have a player. I'm not actually sure if he plays for the Alouettes or he's on the roster Alouettes, but he's wearing a bunch of the Alouettes gear. Big guy. I think he's like 6. He looked like he was maybe like 6'5", 6'6". I don't know exactly his
Okay.
name,
I
but
see who you're talking about. I'm looking at the team photo right now. I don't know his name. It's guy on the far right. Yeah. Uh,
yeah, he was rushing actually, and then he ended up playing
oh
a
wow.
bit of
Okay.
he ended up playing a bit of defensive back, and he gave me a
Okay.
very good jam. And where I couldn't move, I kind of looked at Paul and asked him for a call. I didn't get the
Okay.
call I wanted, but yeah, I kind of want to know what his name is, but
Okay. Well, I mean, listen. If you guys listen to the podcast from the Verge Fall, reach out and let us know. But again, 3-0 team, so you can't hit on that. I mean,
yeah,
all the
and
games are tight. Like they beat Super Daddies tight game, they beat Nomads tight game, and again, you talked about they beat Blue Chips. this past week, right? All the games are tight, but I mean, a win's a win.
Yeah, exactly. So to answer your question, I think that it's a very solid team. Their quarterback is definitely a quarterback. He didn't make much mistakes. He made good balls. He had to throw it. And Guillaume
Right.
also wasn't there. Guillaume wasn't at that game. So I mean, it just
Yeah,
goes
I've
to
seen.
show
Yeah,
that
exactly. Yeah.
their Guillaume definitely is a piece that would help them. That he's an amazing athlete. He's probably one of the top 10 athletes in FPF right now. So he would definitely
Yeah.
would have helped them during that game. But no, they're it's a good group of guys, and so they have a solid team.
Let's see if they could go to 4-0. They're taking on the underdogs. Uh, yeah, they're taking on the underdogs next Sunday in Stade Bear. It's 11 o'clock game.
So yeah,
So we'll have
that's
to
gonna
see
be a
what
good
happens
game.
with that
3-1.
one. Yeah, definitely. Well, that's it. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, looking at the rest of the standings, I mean, again, this is a really competitive division. For me personally, Div 3 is right. I got my start as my favorite division in FPF. Looking at the bottom of the standings right now, we talked about the teams that are winless. A couple of the teams are trying to make their way up the standings. Like Les Maludes, Super Daddies, Fly Fools 2.0, well, now they're the bullies, but formerly the backyard bullies, backfield penetrations, four from strong. A lot of veteran teams, right? A lot of teams with a lot of experience. Blue chips. You talked about obviously junkyard dogs, never overtime,
Yeah,
right? So a lot of good teams in this division. So I think it's gonna go down to the wire to see who's gonna come out on top. Again, Idaho, Ida Pims are the favorites right now, 5-0 record, and they're pretty much the same team from the Division Two squad. But anything can happen, right? Beer Belly Brigade, as I talked about, if I can say that three times fast. Triple B,
yeah,
if you will, 3-0 record. Yeah, so that's another team to watch out for. They're playing at Rouge. That should be actually a good game. Had a chance to play against these guys in Tier 2 this past fall. So Rouge and Beer Belly Brigade, if I can say that properly. They're locking horns coming up soon, so that should be a good game as well. One team 3-0, another team 2-2. So we'll have to see what happens. So yeah, like I said, Div 3 is exciting, and yeah,
all right. Let's go
see what happens
Division Two.
next. Yeah, Division 2 right here, looking at it right now. Um, cool. Here I can find my notes. Anyways, Division 2, yeah, Dirty Birds still on top, 5-0 record. So I had a chance to score keep. So I could tell you what happened. I had a chance to score keep on Saturday at Hanyu, so at the Stinger Dome. I had a chance to see
Okay.
KGP. They played back. It was their first games of the season, so it's really weird. I'll get to the schedule in a second, but they played their first two games of the year. They got smoked 42-24 against One Stop. Again, One Stop was my dark horse. Not even dark horse anymore. It's my pick to win it all. Dark horse. So One Stop now is 4-1. That game is just too many interceptions and a lot of big plays by one team and not enough by the other. So again, 42-24. That was at 1 p.m. Right after KGP, I score kept that game as well. They stayed on the field. They played Idaho, you the pimps. And that game, so with the new rules we talked about last week, right, with the pro clock and all that, the final, I think, 8 to 10 plays lasted about like 15 minutes. It was hilarious. But again, KGP getting the W, 56-51 against Idaho UW. That was an upset. Their defense was playing on point. Matthew Lepage had a monster game. I believe he actually caught the winning touchdown in that contest. KGP then, again, because their first games was Saturday, they played 4 games over 2 days. So after Saturday, they were back at it again. They played, unfortunately, 2 losses. They played
Okay.
EZW. They
Mm-hmm.
lost 46-39, I believe, and then they lost to the Dirty Birds 41-24. So 4 games in 2 days so they played on Monday for KGP. So that's a short turnaround. And this is a veteran squad. It's not a bunch of 20-year-olds running around. So it's a veteran squad.
Yeah, solid.
So yeah, we'll have to see what happens with those guys going forward. Their schedule right now, they're sitting in the 13th spot, right? So 3 teams right now are not in the playoffs. It's 0-5 No Regard, 0-5 Mangoose, and 1-3 KGP. So it's going to be interesting what happens with them. I had a chance, so last Wednesday, so I rushed out of here last Wednesday to get to Laval, so I was scorekeeping, which I plan on doing in about a half an hour's time tonight. Uh, EZW with a huge upset win on the final play of the game against Shake and Bake. Now, I was scorekeeping, so I didn't get to see the actual play that happened. I was talking to Dylan Taylor, who you mentioned earlier. I heard a bunch of screaming happening, happening, and I saw a ball being knocked out of a player's hand. So I believe what happened with Shake and Baking and ECW again is a back and forth game. I've trying to scorekeep my game and watch this game at the same time. That's what we do as scorekeepers. So I think in the last play of the game, yeah, so it was JC. So Jean Christophe, JC Furlan caught a 29-yard touchdown. What happened is I think one of the defenders for Shake and Bake went up. I'm going to get you his name in a second. He's one of the tallest guys on the team. He went to bat down the ball, and I believe one of his teammates kind of came behind him and tried to knock it away, and J.C. Furlan ended up catching the ball for the game-winning touchdown. So wow. A heartbreaker for Shake and Bake, but ECW, yeah, ECW getting the win, and their sideline erupted, obviously, rightfully so, right, with getting that big W. Shake and Bake, their players were upset. Buddy of mine on the team, Denny Martel, yeah, he wasn't yelling at anybody, but he definitely wasn't happy about what happened. I guess on the last play of the game, and he was letting some of his teammates know this. You know that look when you lose on the last play of the game, right? That look of shock and this dejection on your face, and that was over the faces of many of the Shake and Bake guys. Guys were just walking off the field, weren't saying much to each other, and that's what happens sometimes. So again, congrats to ECW on that big win. Shake and Bake were able to bounce back Saturday night at Brassard. I don't know if you got the score keep that game. They knocked off Mangoose 41-36. So what I want to ask you, Quaysie, Mangoose right now. So again, a tough loss, 5-point loss. They're 0-5 on the season, right? Again, we talked last week. This is a team with a lot of talent. I got a couple buddies on the team as well. They've been better lately. They lost to the Silent Ticklers by 6. They lose by 5 to Shake and Bake. It's just their first 3 games were all blowouts. Do you think Mangoose is going to go 0-4 for the season? Because you look at the schedule. They have Idaho U to Pimps next Sunday, followed by the Infantry, Vultures, Fins Up, and Diamond Bougie. Do you think Mangoose gets a W this season?
Not with the roster that they have. I believe they have some. They added some guys in. They don't have the same team as they had last year or the year before that. They kind of not sure. Maybe the guys are just not around, but they don't have the same roster as they are. And as we said, Division 2 is not. It's not a division to joke around with. You need a solid roster. You need a bunch of guys. You need also communication with that team. They do have a lot of guys that have been playing a while. I just don't think they have because I believe I score kept. Did I score kept this game? Division 2. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I score kept this game, or maybe it was last week. But the roster that they had, from what I saw, I'm just gonna double check. It was conference. I did know. I did score keep. Yeah, they had it wasn't the same roster that I'm used to them seeing. So it looked like there was a lot of struggles. That's the reason why Shake and Bake scored their 41 points. I don't think the game was as close as what it was. But at the beginning of the game, the game wasn't. It was like it was normal, whatever. Shake and Bake was kind of messing up. Mangoose was kind of messing up, and then Shake and Bake kind of took over. But I don't. If they have if they have this roster that they've been playing with for the past 5 weeks, no, I don't think they're going to get any wins because they play Idaho next, then they play us Infantry, then they play Vultures, and they play Fins Up, and they play Diamond Bougie. They play 5 teams that are pretty much. I would believe that all these teams that they're playing against could be contenders to win the championship for Division.
Yep.
So I don't think they're gonna get a win. Again, it also takes one interception, one kind of turnover, and then the game can change because they played Silent Tickers, they lost by 6, and they played Shake and Bake, they lost by 5. So again, one interception, one bat down, one thing that changes, and the roles are turned, right. Instead of being 5-0, instead of being 0-5, they're 3-2. They're 2-3. But as right now, if I had to say, I don't think they win a game this season.
Okay. So you talked about your team, obviously. You have a game tonight. The one remaining game in Division 2. It's Vultures against the Infantry going on tonight. I believe at Stady Bear, right? 10 o'clock. What's going to be the key for you guys getting the W?
We're just gonna have to finish right now. Right now, we're 1-2. We dropped 2 games. We won the first game versus ECW, but it was a weak roster. And then we played Kush, and we played I think Party Ballers. We lost a bad game. Party Ballers, bad play with Kush. We just need to finish as a team. We need to score more points. Right now, we're not scoring those points, and we have to also allow. We have to allow less points. Right now, we're allowing 2 points per game, which a roster that we have, we should be averaging at least teams should be averaging maybe 20 points, 25 points max against us. So for us to to get this W, we're gonna have to make sure we're gonna have to make sure Benny doesn't have as much reads as we want him to do. Stop his runs and just
Mm-hmm.
get stops. And we need stops and score points because as an offense that we have a powerhouse offense. We have AJ as a quarterback. It's kind of new for us.
Yeah.
We are adapting, but for this team we have here, we need to be scoring. We need to score way more, and we have to stop way more for us to
Okay.
get
Okay.
Dirty Birds, five
Yeah.
and 0.
Yeah.
Right now, they look like they're the king of the hill. They have some impressive wins this year.
Oh yeah.
They actually have a stack roster as well.
Oh
You
yeah,
have the
they do.
combo of Anthony.
Yeah.
You have the count. You have the combo. I believe if you pick the roster, they actually have the guys that actually do play. I believe. I don't think Khalil Kerr is actually on the team. I think he's just a sub. Same thing with Jordan McLaren, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to say Chris Millard. I
Or
don't think
James
he's actually on
Tyrell.
the. Oh no, sorry, James Terrell. Yeah, I
Okay.
don't think those three guys are on the team. So I think they're just kind of guys that fill in gaps. But other than that,
Right.
a crazy defense. You have a crazy offense. I think they probably, if you look up to down, I think they probably have the best roster going
Yeah, that's
around.
fair. Mm-hmm.
You have Anthony Brusois, you have James O'Hayan. Those are two
Mm-hmm.
top receivers right there, hard to stop. And you also have Jamal Noel, that's very fast, very quick. And then
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
Chris
Yeah.
Millard is also in the team. So you have guys that could go deep, you have guys that go short, you have guys that could break tackles, score points, and then you have a pretty freaking amazing defense with Matt Vaughn, a true veteran that probably calls the defense for
Yeah.
them. You have Quay Johnson that also defensive guy. You have James O'Hayan, defensive guy. You have Anthony
Mm-hmm.
Breezewa that literally played for Team Canada this last
Yeah.
summer for
Okay.
as a defensive back. So you have a bunch of guys that you have a lot of core defensive guys that can make plays. So I think this is a team that's kind of they have everything. They have everything. They have the offense. They have the defense. As I said before, it's Quaid. Quaid's gonna be the one. Their kryptonite. He's gonna be the one that if they do end up losing in the playoff, it's gonna be on him.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. I mean, again, this team is deep. They have a former CFLer, right, as a sub in James Tyrell. Obviously, Lonnie and Quay Johnson, the Johnson guys. Lonnie the dad, Quay the son. They've been in FPF forever. Naz Dillon, my man, Naz Dillon, our rusher, he's solid. Yeah, this team up and down is great. Like, yeah, Markins Falcor, former McGill defensive back. He's been in FPF for a while now, so he's brought his game. He's been
That's
accustomed
very
now
true.
to playing flag race. So yeah, this is a team top and bottom. They have the talent to win it all. Will they? We'll have to wait and see. Uh, I want to give a shout out quickly. So the Silent Ticklers, a big W, 46-26 over Diamond Bougie last week. Jordan Panetta, 7 TD passes. Dan Mancini, 6 catches, 122 yards, 3 touchdowns. Adam Rosen, 3 touchdowns. Former Montreal Alouette Tyson Otis Copeland had an INT in that game. Silent Ticklers, they're one of those teams that they'll have a great game. They'll have maybe a not so great game, but at the end of the day, they're going to play hard, and they're a team that can definitely make some noise come the playoffs. I'm excited for Division Two to see what happens. Who's going to be around and still left in the dance when the playoffs start, right? Because I mean, there's tons of talent, a lot of Div 1 guys playing in this division, a lot of great players, quarterbacks, defensive backs, rushers, receivers, what have you. This is arguably I don't want to say the most talented because Division 1 is, but it's like 1A, 1B pretty much in terms of talent in this division. Again, 12 teams make the playoffs out of 15, so those teams at the bottom of the rankings, like we talked about earlier, KGP, Mangoose, and No Regard, they're going to have to kind of get their act together ASAP if they want to have any chance of making the dance. Right now, Diamond Bougie sits in 12th, the 12th and final playoff spot. 1-3 records, so they're catchable. They're catchable. Just
Yeah,
these other
takes
teams.
one takes one
Yeah,
win.
that's it, exactly.
One win. What one quick question for you? What do you think is more impressive? One stop's offense or Finn's up offense? They're
One
pretty
stop,
much right now. They're
one stop.
one stop.
I can tell you right now, one stop. So again, I've told you I've worked for McGill, so I've had a chance to call some of these guys that are playing on the team. like Ryan McNally, Philip Trudell, Mathis Pilon, Janai Lewis, former McGill guy, Charles Cassette. Charles Cassette is like, he's a stud, man. This guy's a stud, both sides of the ball. But I like their offense. So I'll tell you how good their offense is. So you know AJ Zapatelli, right? Solid
Yeah.
receiver, came from the lower divisions. He's made his way up to the higher divisions. The 81 rating as a receiver. He doesn't even play offense half the time now for this team. And
Mhm.
I'll show you his stats. I'll tell you his stats right now. AJ, who's leading receiver on almost every team he plays on, has 7 catches, 82 yards, and 1 TD. Now you say, oh, okay, that can't be great. Well, their offense has put up 31, 35, 40, 38, and 42 points.
It's 8 o'clock.
So they're not missing AJ as much as you think they would. And now they have some Sam Mashtube, former McGill player. So he's on the team now. He just got back from Europe. He's feeling under the weather, but he made his debut the other on Saturday at Concordia. So I got to score keep their game. He's another weapon they add to the lineup. So yeah, Fins up beat one stop 40-35 in week 2. That was a close game in Laval. I think if these two teams meet again, I want to go with one stop to get the W.
Okay.
All right, let's hop over to D1. Top of the mountain here. Okay, yeah, so Braves now in first, 3-0 record. Party Crashers, they were in first last time we talked. Now they're in second. Well, they're tied with, they have 6 points each, but Braves are 3-0. Party Crashers are 3-2. Royal Luminaire, 2-0 record. So they have 4 points along with Flagmont Sac. Both teams have 4 points. So they're both one game out of first. All Stars 1-2, run it twice, 1-3, and Bless now 0-4. So I know we talked about last week again. Bless again, the only team on the outside looking into the playoffs. Obviously, that's of concern for you. Obviously, being the team that you play on. Do you think that Bless can make that push? I mean, they'd have to catch you guys basically. So do you? Obviously, I don't.
Yeah.
They catch you guys because we're gonna fall flat, but. What do you think
So I'm hoping they don't catch us. We do have the tie break against them, so that's a good thing. Even if we both finish 1-9 for some reason, we bump them out because we have more wins. We have the tie break against them. I'm not. I'm not. To be honest, I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not surprised the record that they have 0-4. I know. I know they're gonna have a bit of struggle with the new FPF rule, how it's 4 downs to midfield or first down and then 4 downs to score. Their offense is kind of based on that. Now it kind of like when you're playing like you're watching football and you're seeing an all run team and they're kind of averaging 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, and then they go for it because mathematically 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 12. So it's kind of like that army type and navy type of offense. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Less is kind of like exactly like that. Pass the ball 2 yards, pass the ball 3 yards, pass the ball 3 yards. Fourth and 2, we're going for it, but it's not that anymore, right? You need 20 yards to get a first or 25. Exactly sure. So for them, their offense has to completely change, and then they have to adapt against teams that already know how to do it. So you have Braves, you have Party Crashers, you have Rory, you have Flag. Also, you have all these guys that played that type of that system where it's 20 yards to first down or 25. You have guys, you have veterans, guys that played that type of defense. So to kind of change your whole offense to from what it was from before to change it to what it to how you have to play it now, it's a big progressive jump. So for them to be the fact that they're 0-4, I'm not surprised. Do I think they're going to make a jump and win a game this season? Looking at their schedule right now, they just played the Braves. They lost 36-20. Then they have Party Crashers, which it's a winnable game. It's probably one of the winnable game. They have Flagmore. I don't think they're being like that. They have Braves again. I don't think they're going to beat the Braves. They have All Stars twice at the end, and then they have Royal. So the games I feel like they could win is probably against Party Crashers and Royal.
Wow. Okay.
And that I think that's kind of generous. And the only reason why I'm saying that because their last 2 games is against All Stars. Right now, Kevin Wyeth seems like he's kind of struggling a bit, but when it comes down to week 8 and week 9, I think he's gonna have his rhythm back, and I think it's gonna be one team that you're not gonna want to play against going down the stretch. So
Right.
I feel like for them, they have two more opportunities to get those wins, and if they don't get it, they're gonna finish their season 0-10.
I think okay. So I'll ask you this question then, because you talked about the remaining schedule for Bless. I personally think if they get into the playoffs, they're gonna have to at least take one of those games from the All Stars. So you're telling me right now you don't think that's gonna happen at all?
No, not the way, because right now Kevin, if you check Kevin's stats right now, he's not having the best stats. All stars are 1 and 2. It's weird to even see that, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he gets worse. I think he's gonna get better after every week. I
Yeah.
think he's gonna have a bit more chemistry with some of the guys that he does have. He does have a couple new guys on the team. I think their defense is gonna get better. I think their offense is gonna get extremely better. So I feel like because
Right.
Bless
Right.
ends up getting them at the back of the season, it's going to be probably the worst situation. They play them in March and April. They play them March 23rd and April 6th.
Yeah.
Last two
Yeah.
games of the season for them. At that point, All Stars, I believe, I'm just going to go check the schedule real quick. I believe those are probably the last two games that All Stars have. No, so All Stars play the 23rd, the 30th, and the 6th. So they have three. They have a gap between Blessed. They play Royal, and then they
Mm-hmm.
play Blessed again after. So I think at this point, Kevin's gonna have one, two, three, four. He's gonna have basically 4 games before he plays Bless again, and I think at that game, I think he's gonna have the offense, the defense. Everyone's gonna be settled. Everyone's gonna be kind of
That's it. Yeah.
locked and ready and getting ready for playoff.
Yeah, and right now, looking at it again, right? Blessed with 4 games played, All Stars with 3, so All Stars have a game in hand. So some big games coming up in Div 1 this coming week, right? Saturday, run it twice against Royal Luminaire. So Royal Luminaire is playing twice, I believe, Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. So they're playing, we're playing you guys running once, and they're also playing Flamois Sac. So that's going to be a pretty good game. You talked about Blessing Party Crashers this coming Wednesday, and Braves against Running One. So a couple big games coming up for you personally. Looking at the standings right now, I said the Braves, right? The Braves are 3-0. They're in first now, right? They've taken over first in the Party Crashers from last week. Do you think the Braves stay there the rest of the way?
Do I think Braves? So let me just look at the Braves schedule. When did they play Royal?
So
Okay,
they play, yeah, the last game of the year they played
so right now
Royal
they
Luminaire
play. Yeah, so they play us this
twice.
coming next week. Yeah, they play us on Wednesday, and
Yeah,
then they play us. Oh yeah, we play back to back. So we
yeah,
that's
exactly.
two that's two
Yeah,
games. Um, as I said, I'm not someone that's gonna say my team's gonna lose.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not there to lose. I'm always there to win. So I gotta give my team both the wins.
Fair.
Um,
Okay.
right now, I do have to say is that right now Jeff hasn't been playing. Ben has been our quarterback, which
Right.
he's doing a pretty good job. It's just a bit different not to
Mm-hmm.
have Jeff out there. Kind of
Yeah,
changes the offensive play calling.
for
So
sure. For
you
sure.
never know. Jeff's gonna be back. It seems like he's ready to go. So that's gonna be a difference for us to have Jeff back with us.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that they're gonna stay there, because if I do say they're gonna stay there, it kind of basically means that they're gonna beat us twice. But good chances are they're probably, unless Royal they play Royal last. It might come down to them Royal and Flagmore Sack to have the top seed.
Right.
But again, I don't want to say yes, because if I do say yes, I'm kind of going against my own team, saying they're gonna lose, because I feel like if they lose, if we do beat them twice, right, they go from 3-0 to 3-2, just like that,
Right. Right.
So
Right.
they probably go from the top of the seed back into the middle of the seed.
Okay.
So yeah, not the not the best. Not I can't go against my team. So I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say no. I don't think they're gonna stay at the top. I think they're gonna be in the top three though. I'll give them that. I'll say they're gonna be in the top three.
Okay. All right, so it's a real strong prediction there. I mean, listen, they could lose to you once, maybe even twice, and still finish with the top spot. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, if you guys take care of business next Wednesday and the Wednesday after, we'll be talking about running once, potentially being in first place, and hopefully going the rest of the way in first as we march towards the playoffs. Okay, so that's it for Division 1. So coming up next, I believe we're gonna do co-ed. Are we doing co-ed or do you want to do women's?
I'm gonna be doing women's.
Okay,
Women's,
perfect.
yeah, women's two.
Okay,
Women's two.
so let's hop over to the ladies. Women's two here. So looking at the standings right now. Yeah, looking at the standings right now with women's two. Yeah, so the Crocs still 5-0 in first place. The Saint Laurent Pats 4-0. We talked about, so again, two teams still undefeated. Valhalla 3-0 record. They're undefeated as well. So three undefeated teams and three teams that are winless. So now it's left now is just Chaos. Again, big surprise. They're 0-2. It's only two games so far. So I mean, I think they'll be able to right the ship again. So little surprise about Chaos. The Cavs 0-1-1. So at least they have a point so far this season. And then the Spartiats or the Spartans, however you want to say it, they're sitting at 0-4. So again, wow. Jesus. Sorry, 6 points scored. I'm sorry, 6 points scored in 4 games. So yeah, that's they gotta go back to the drawing board, I guess. I mean, listen, they're out there, they're playing their hardest. No one's gonna question that. Just 6 points over 4 games. They gotta kind of step it up a little bit, but hopefully there's still time. There's still time. What are your thoughts about women's two?
So, women's two is very interesting. As we said before, there's 18 teams. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of new teams too, right?
Yeah,
So you
yeah.
have Spartan, you have I believe Cavaliers and Cavs are both the same teams. You
Yeah.
have Hibu three, Hibu two. You have a lot of. I think a lot of teams are also testing out players, trying to see who's good for there, who's good for there. Because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these teams are college teams, right? So they kind of do this for
Yeah.
for experience. Some teams do for tryouts, like we were talking about Lennox from Medwar Mopsi.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We were talking about the big roster that they do have. But for them, a lot of situation they have 15 girls, but it's because their coach is basically trying the team out, trying girls out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
making cuts as he does it, right?
Yeah.
So it's as I said, it's a very interesting division.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still surprised that the Crocs are 5-0. I said that last time. Patriots this Egypt the Saint Laurent, very good team. We were saying that before. I think this is probably the one team that's gonna end up winning it. I believe from what their coach AJ told me, I believe they won last year. Right now they have 146 points scored, and they only allowed 19 points. They're allowing literally 5 points per game,
Yeah. It's impressive. It's
which to
impressive.
me
Yeah.
is pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
They do have some tough competition coming up. Their next game that they're going to be playing against is going to be
It is Hebrew
they
two.
play people.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Hebrew two. Yeah, Hebrew two. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the next
So
game.
yeah, Fable Two is not. It's not really Dream Killers. Not as much. I think they're gonna blow those two teams out. But they do play the Crocs. They play
Yep.
the Crocs week 9. So for them,
Yep.
that's in their 7th team. I think that's actually no. That's the only game that's gonna be a competition for them. I think the other remaining games, I think they're kind of just gonna blow by. So I believe they're either gonna finish 9-1 or they're gonna finish 10-0 with the number one seed going into the playoffs. Right now,
Yep.
they don't play. It would have been interesting for them to play the UCAN team and Valhalla.
Yeah, Valhalla.
I
Yeah.
think that's how you
Yeah,
pronounce it.
Valhalla. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been interesting for them to play those two teams because both of
Yeah.
the UCAN team scored 161, allowed
Yeah.
32 points, so that's
Yeah.
also super impressive. And Valhalla's scored 114 and only allowed 37. So it would have been nice to see them play them in the season, but again, this is why we have playoffs. So hopefully during the playoffs we end up seeing a matchup between one of these two teams because that's going to be very something. It's going to be very interesting to see.
Definitely. Definitely. A couple games going on tonight. In women's two, we have Les TS Terjean against Wolfpack in Laval. So I'm going to have a chance to be there to, I think, potentially score, keep that game. And the Aces against the Hard Hitters tonight at 11 p.m. at Stady Bear. So those will be two games to when this podcast comes out, look at the results and see what happens. A little shake up in the standings. Some big games next week. We have Chaos and late ETS. Terjean, Hebrew 3, Cavs, Hard Hitters, Ex-Cons, Saint Laurent Pats against Hebrew 2, and Valhalla against the Cavaliers. We also have the Spartias against the Aces and the Wolfpack against Lake Cross. So the Crocs are going to try and keep their undefeated season alive again as they take on the Wolf Pack. So that should be an interesting game because right now the Wolf Pack are sitting at 2-1, so they have a chance. Listen, you have to get onto the field, you have a chance, right? So will the Crocs be undefeated next time we meet? We're gonna have to wait and see. So those games taking place actually this coming Monday, so that should be good. Yeah, so again, competitive division right here so far. Again, we talked about the matchups coming up, a lot of big ones over the next couple of days, and again, as I mentioned too, tonight. You want to jump to women's one?
Yeah, we can go to women's one.
All right, so looking at the ladies' top division here. So last week, Sub Zero knocked off Hebrew 56-12. So Sub Zero is getting their vibe back. Cayenne beat the Citadin 42-19. Sorry. Les Bleus beat the Red Wings 42-12. So this week, a couple big games Saturday. Les Bleus against Cayenne and Brassard, and the Red Wings against Sub Zero. Going to be Wednesday, this coming Wednesday at Stady Bears. So looking at it right now again, so so only 6 teams, all six to make the dance. The Red Wings are the only team without a win, sitting at 0-4. Again, they're a predominantly new team this season. Senator on top with Senator on top of a 4-1 record. Sub Zero 3-1. We talked about they're kind of getting their vibe back. I think they'll be okay. Cayenne also at 3-1, so they're tied with Sub Zero, followed by Les Bleus at 2-2, and Hebrew at 1-4. What are your thoughts so far about women's one as we reach the midway point of the season?
So again, women's one is interesting as well. It's kind of funny how there's only 6 teams in women's one, and then you have
Yeah.
18 in women's two. I think maybe it's a bit more. It's kind of fun to see that. Shout out to Red Wings. I'm pretty sure Red Wings they could have went to women's two, and they probably would have it would have been a completely different season for them.
Yeah,
But again, I
100%.
think maybe they have some players playing in women's two or quarterback. I think they have a quarterback situation for that.
Right.
Um, uh, and same thing for Hibu. Hibu is also it's a young team. It's a CJIP team. So for them to make that jump, I know they have 3 teams, but again, for them to make that jump to play into women's one, as we said before, women's one is very competitive. You have the UCAM team, you have the Sub Zero team, you have Can, you have the Blue. You have probably you have 3 of the top teams here that are probably when they go to tournaments in the states, they usually end up all making a lot of commotion. They end up all
Yeah.
winning a lot
Yeah.
of games. We have a lot of talented girls that they end up playing against every single week on. It's not like, oh, you're gonna play one team this week and then you're gonna play a bad team, bad team, bad team. You're
Yeah.
literally playing good teams every single week. Like the top 4 teams here, and I'm not saying Hibu or Red Wings are bad teams. I just think Les Bleus, Cayenne, Sub Zero, and UCAM are four really good teams that a lot of people know of them, and they've been good for pretty long.
Yeah, that's it.
So
That's it.
it's a very, as I said, it's very interesting because there is only 6 teams, so you get to see a lot of teams play versus each other again.
Mm-hmm.
We did also get to see, I think it was Cayenne beat Siddles. It was 42-19. They played on Sunday. So I remember we talked about that last week, and we kind of said, "Oh, that's going to be it's going to be a challenge. We want to see
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly if they're gonna, because UCAM was 3-0, so they gave them their first loss of the season. So we kind of got to see that Cayenne's kind of messing around. They kind of beat them by a smooth 23 points. So they kind of said, yeah, don't worry, we're still in charge. We're still one of the top dogs here.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's why we're kind of interesting. We're wondering who's going to finish 1 and 2. So again, I believe that impressive win, winning by 23 points. I believe we're still going to have Sub Zero at number one and Cayenne at number two. Are going to have maybe they're going to switch Cayenne number one, Sub Zero number two. I think those are going to be the 2 top teams moving forward. It would be nice to see Hibo or Red Wings put up a challenge when they do end up playing any of these top 4 teams.
Yeah.
Uh, for them, it's going to be something new. But again, it's we play this sport to get some experience, to kind of get better, and to kind of see how good you guys are. So it's good. It's nice that they're in this. They are playing with one because they are getting the experience of playing versus better teams.
Yeah, that's it.
For
That's
you,
it.
is anything kind of looking
Yeah, well, I got a couple. So just a couple of shout outs. So you talked about the obviously Cayenne beating the City Dan 42-19. So shout out to Annie Tires. Like I say, 24-32, Cayenne quarterback, 290 yards, 5 TDs. Julien Fortin, 7 catches, 67 yards, 3 TDs. Mathilde Renault, 7 catches, 1 TD, and 100 yards. That's pretty impressive. Citadin, again, losing effort for them. Kind of spoiled a solid outing by Beatrice Bouchard, 7 catches, 117 yards, and 2 TDs. Also, when I was prepping earlier, going back to Sub Zero for a second, obviously the incredible Sarah Parker, 19 of 22, 298 yards, 8 TDs in their victory. So ATDs in their 56-12 victory over Hebrew. Caroline Moquin Joubert, 10 catches, 188 yards, 3 TDs. Yeah, looking at it here, a couple of the TDs. Angeli Martin, Sarah Cormier, 2 TDs each. So yeah, these ladies are coming to play. Like I said last week, these ladies are serious and they're coming to play some ball. And so we've seen again Sub Zero finding their traction, if you will, and a lot of other teams getting some big wins this past week. So hopefully this coming week we're going to get some more incredible ball in Women's One. So
Um,
looking, go.
yeah, no, it's about not about it. I was gonna say something about Sub Zero, but it's gonna be later in the season, so we'll talk about that at the end of the season.
Okay, so in the final
All right.
couple minutes here, you want to bang out co-ed first?
Yeah, let's go co-ed. I
Yeah.
think we could do co-ed.
Okay, so
Ten
let's
minutes.
do co-ed 3 quickly. Looking at it right here, yeah, anything 5-0. They're leading the division. Hot on the trail, Dream Killers 4-1. Kiss My A's 3-0. We talked about them last week. Also at 3-0, Balls and TD. So obviously the teams are it's tightly packed in this division. Vultures 0-3 and Montreal Dragons 0-3, the only two winless teams. Out of the 16 teams, 14 of them have at least one win. So obviously that speaks to parity in this division. Quickly, anything what's caught your eye so far? I mean, besides the parity and co-ed 3.
So I watched Gold Diggers play against Pick Artists.
Okay.
Um, I believe when we were talking about, I'm just gonna pull up the game. Yeah, Gold Diggers. I believe Gold Diggers were, yeah, they were 0-4. So they got a very impressive win versus a pretty good team. They
Yeah.
won 43-40. At halftime, I believe it was like 20-0 or 20-6. So they were pretty
Wow.
much dominating the whole time. For them, it's the first game. It's the first win of the season. So congrats to them.
Okay.
It's pretty big for them. They had a. I'm just gonna pull out his name. Oscar Escobar. He went 10 for 13, 101 yards, 3 touchdowns. So
Right.
they
Right.
played across the field from I was when I was playing, and every time I looked at their side, this guy was making a catch, or he was running for yards, or he was scoring a
Right. Right.
touchdown. So they did a completely you like to say a 360 turn. Their quarterback Tristan Peltier, he went what's his stats right now? He went on this game. He went 38 for 20, which is not that impressive. 52% passing, but he
Mm-hmm.
scored. He threw for 7 touchdowns.
Right. Right.
So you go from scoring for, and also one thing to also look at that he didn't play quarterback. So that when I was talking about them last time, he wasn't playing quarterback the game that I watched. So when I kind of was saying they're kind of having a quarterback issue like that, he wasn't there. He was
Right.
playing
Right.
receiver.
Right. Right.
So I
Okay.
think you keep this guy at quarterback. You keep feeding the ball to Escobar, and you could start winning some more games because right now they got an impressive game. They got an impressive win. They're 1-4, and after that they bumped out a team that's kind of middle of the pack. So if you could beat a team in the middle of the pack, all bets are on. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. 100%. Looking at the upcoming games, so there's no games tonight, but there's a couple games coming up this weekend. Vultures, Hot Wings at Brassard. B&G's and Kiss My A's also at Brassard this Saturday. Monday we have Vicious and Delicious against Thunder Villains. Wednesday at Statty Bear, there's tight ends against Pig Artists, and then Also, this coming Wednesday, so a game I will scorekeep, it'll be Gold Diggers against Montreal Dragons. That'll be, so both those games on February 12th. So again, the tight ends and pick artists is Sadie Bear and Gold Diggers and Montreal Dragons in Laval. So I'll be scorekeeping that game at Laval.
Lots of games.
Sorry?
Also, I said lots of game less, and a lot of teams that only have one win. So it takes, as we said, Vulture is a very veteran team. It takes them one game, and then all of a sudden they become in the red all the way into the green.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so this is going to wrap it up for Co-Ed 3. Unfortunately, I have to go do some scorekeeping, so I'm going to wrap it up for this episode as well of the First and Goal FPF podcast. So we're going to do what we did last week. We're going to have a second part of this podcast. We're going to be releasing that a little later in the week. So we have to do Co-Ed 1, Co-Ed 2, 5v5, and of course, like I said, we're going to have our Super Bowl picks for that show, so we'll definitely have that up before Sunday. Any final thoughts?
Not exactly. A lot of flag left until the teams that are undefeated, teams that haven't won a game yet. We have 5 weeks left, 6 weeks left, as we said before. It takes one game, and then all of a sudden you can get some things rolling.
Yeah.
And there you go. Don't give up. It's a long season, and just keep balling out. Keep playing football.
There you go. Perfect advice right there. He's Quaysie. I'm Brent. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the First and Goal Flag Plus Football podcast. We will see you next time. Have a good one.